Okay, everybody, welcome to XLR today for the first round of the Tier 1 season on F124. It's a new game, it's a new dawn for a lot of these drivers, and it's a new season, anything can happen, new lineups. It's always exciting to get to the start of the season. I am a tiny bit ill at the moment, as you may or may not be able to tell, so I'm going to try my best. Might not be too easy. We have Hearts the first one out in one of the new teams on the F124 game in that RB Visa Cash App RB Racing Bulls, whatever you want to call them. He's on his way out onto the circuit here, and he's into the chicane. Turns 14 and 15, and he's had a little spin through turn 15 on the exit. And he gets it back facing the right way again. As he goes down the final two corners, he's going to get back on the power. And off he goes for the first run of the new season. There's been a lot of changes on the new game, particularly to ERS. And so how's he just invalidated that on the straight? Sorry. How's he just invalidated on the straight? It does mean, even in qualifying, you have to be conservative with your ERS. Pyro's just invalidated through turn 1. And we have Happy Man into the first corner then. In that BWT Alpine, an awful lot of carbon fibre on display in that black, blue and white, pink car. Like with the handling, you actually have to think about what you're doing. Through some straights you use overtake mode, through others you don't. Through some corners you turn it down a bit to save the ERS for the later stages of the lap. Because if you run out, you lose so much time down the straights. As he's heading in towards, I don't know anything of the actual corner name, so he's just gone through turn 13 into the chicane of 14 and 15. The new sound of that Renault engine in the Alpine car, as he's going to be the first one to set a lap here as Hearts has come back into the pit lane. Happy Man gets it stopped. He's going to get it turned in for the final corner. He gets back on the power. Giannuzzi is returning this season with the Williams. Happy Man up to the line is a 1:15.6 as our first run of Q1. Dan around the final corner has invalidated. He's going to have to go again. I think we have Untos around the final corner now in the green machine of the kick salary. He comes up to the line, is a 1:14.958. Then is El Plan up to the line with a 1:15.3. So he's, as it stands, he's going to be going through into Q2, but a lot will change in this session. He's now getting out of the way. Power GT is also just beginning a run, and then it's Limborder up to the line, or not, he's just done that on the intermediates, but came in before he finished it. Then we've got EJ around the final couple of corners. Podium sitter in Tier 2 last night, as was a certain other individual in a Mercedes car. EJ comes up to the line, is a 1:15.3, narrowly beating our plan by 5/1000ths of a second. EJ wasn't the only podium sitter last night, as a certain Mercedes driver also finished in that top 3. Not going to mention, but you probably That was a fun race, to be fair. I did enjoy it. Stan comes up to the line. He goes into P1 with a 1:14.1. Then Untos coming into the final chicane again. He's going to be followed by his teammate Power GT heading up to the line. The Red Bull of, I believe that's Perkins up ahead of him, is also just setting a time. Power GT goes into P6 with a 1:15.6. Then Mr. Business invalidated his time. I mean, it was only an intermediate run as well. Hearts is getting ready to go for another run, and hopefully he's not going to invalidate it this time. He does go a little bit deep into the penultimate corner, but he gets it stopped, and off he goes again. Hopefully this time around he doesn't manage to invalidate it on the straight. I'm not entirely sure what he did last time. As Dom also just starting a flying lap as well. We have Pyro just coming into the pit lane. Then he's followed by the two McLarens. EJ's going for another run there. Mr. Business coming into the pit lane. Then we've got Unitos around the final couple of corners. Final corner now. He's going to put down the power, although he's going to come into the pit lane instead. Perkins has invalidated a time. It was 1:15.6, so it would have been the slowest out of those that we've seen so far, as Rocky goes up into P3 with a 1:15.0. And both the kick salvers into the pit lane. Then there's the Williams of Dan coming into the pits in P1 at the moment. And then Hart's coming into the final couple of corners. Round the final corner he goes, gets back on the power, a little bit of a slide through the final corner. Oh yeah, I'll set that up in the time being. Hearts goes into P8 with a 1:17.6. And then we have EJ around the final couple of corners. He's invalidated, and we're quite likely to see him into the pit lane, which indeed we do. Dom invalidates this time and has backed off. And now we've got Shakos out on the track in that bright red striking Ferrari livery this year. It really is a striking bold livery. Everyone loved it when it launched. And you can see why on track. It's certainly hard to miss it. Also a thing I noticed on this game, it's so difficult to get temperature into your front tyres. And doing so will probably gain you so much time on everyone else if you can get temp and they can't. Perkins into the pit lane, she's out of fuel, is not going to finish that run. Then we've got we've got an RB car. Is that El Plan? No, I believe, yeah, it's Hearts around the final corner. He's let an Alpine go. That would be Lele, who's just starting his flying run. Watch out for him. It's hard to tell with a new game what everyone's pace is going to be like, but Lele is always, or at least last season, he was always just up there. When you least expected him, he would deliver. Jumping up the field there is Ayan on his return as a full-time driver going into P4 with a 1:15.0. Then next up we got Pyro, who's just beginning a flying run as well, as is Unitos in that green machine of the Kick Salvo car. Giannuzzi also just beginning a run. And then it's El Plan who's coming into the pit lane. A Red Bull of Limberwalder just beginning his first flying run of the session. Same with Mr. Business. Lele's just heading it through that final sector now. And he's just the final two corners to go in that Alpine. He's got turned in very nicely. He's going to get on the power, taking as little distance to the line as possible. It's only P3 though with a 1:15.0. Dan at the moment is he's 8/10 out front. Shakos lowers that gap a bit, but it's still 6/10 of a second that he is out front by. Dom with the DRS is just going to start his next flying run, or he's going to hope he completes this one, because then it'll be his first completed run of the session. Pyro up to the line, invalidates his time, but yeah, can't jump up the field because he did invalidate his lap. Giannuzzi goes into P3 with a 1:14.0. 14.9. World up to the line, 1:15.0 can only match P7 in his Red Bull. Yes. They call it pad hacks. That's how he's that far ahead. Dom gets a bit of a snap there up the hill. Off turn 13, he's going to come into the chicane now. He's kept it so far looking pretty clean. Probably was a bit of a scary moment just as we cut to him. Dom, he's got the car stopped. He's got it turned in. And he's going to get back on the power, on the run, up to the finish line. And with Dom, it's only P13, but that might be enough to get him through into the second part of qualifying. Or possibly, are we doing short qualifying? Honestly, I haven't been paying attention. Because it feels like Q1's taking an awfully long time. Honestly, I assume we're doing full qualifying. I don't know. It should be full. I didn't notice how long there was when we started, because it feels like it's been going on for an awfully long time. Mr. Business up to the line now, and he goes into P2 with a 1:14.7. Which is a very strong lap from him, but still no one can get close to that 14.1 that Dan has set. Perkins around the final corner. He's going to go up the line, DRS active, and she begins her, hopefully, first decent run of the session. We also have Dom around the final couple of corners, who I don't think is going to be able to go again. He'll be into the pit lane, which indeed he is. Hart's around the final couple of corners. Is he on a lap? Is he going to go again here? I'm not fully sure. He's coming up to the line now. He improved by 7/10, still at 1:16.9, so he's still not quite up there just yet. He's just going to go again. His teammate Al Plan is just coming to the end of a run, which puts him up into P5 with a 1:14.9. Giannuzzi's retired from the session. He's got a 1:14.9 as well. He should be nice and safe to be through into Q2. Well, that's Perkins around the final corner. Just 3 seconds up on her personal best. Up the line, it's P14. That could be enough to get through into Q2. It's not safe, but it might be enough. Hart's getting really out of shape through the chicane of 14 and 15, which might have just cost him any little bit of lap time he had in this attempt. Yeah, and he pulls into the pit lane, not improving. Pyro just about to begin another run as well. Yeah, it is full qualifying. It just felt like it's taking an awfully long time. No, Pyro has come back into the pit lane, so he's not going to be. Yes, he's not going to be setting another lap. Or he might be able to go out again, but I doubt he will, as he seems to be nice and safe in P7 as Power GT just beginning another run. He's through at the moment as it stands, but it's not safe as he's down in P15. Although he is half a second ahead of Dom at the moment. As he's taking us through the hairpin of turn 7. And gets back on the barrier. It's a little flex to the right. And then it's a proper corner to the left. So he has done nicely. It's quite easy to go a little bit too wide on the exit. There is a car right in front of him. It's an Alpine. It's almost getting in the way. He's just about to get. That was Happy Man in the Alpine. Here he goes Power GT now into the chicane. He's only 2.5 tenths up closer to 3, but he's invalidated his time, so it's not going to matter. But he should have time to recharge his battery and go again. Or he should have the fuel. Limborg is retired from the session in P10. Dom's going to go again as he comes around the final corner. I think Power GT's going again now. As is the Ferrari of Dom. They're both beginning what will be their final, or maybe final runs. Happy Man's abandoned his lap already, seemingly. Which is an interesting decision. Possibly going for 2 warm-up laps, I guess. Not entirely sure what the thought process is for the Alpine there. As Lele's gone out again in P8. He should be comfortably safe there. But I guess he's gone for another lap. Rocky just on his out lap as well. And then we've got EJ taking us through the chicane. He's just a bit under a 10th up through that middle sector. And he's just got 2 more corners to go to keep it neat and tidy. Oh, he's gone a bit wide though. He's gone too wide. He's kept it within the regulations through that final corner. Is he still going to improve as he comes up to the line? No, he does not. EJ's going to be 13th at best in this session, which is not safe. I would not be confident if I was in his position. Power GT improves up to P12, and then, yeah, instantly, as I've been saying, Dom improves up to P15, EJ down to P15. So now Happy Man is in the drop zone as well. He needs this lap, as he's just going now. Hart's on the final corner has also got enough time to start his lap. Pyro pulling in for pit lane has realised he doesn't need that lap. Power GT is... No, he's... I just saw 4 tenths up and assumed that was his delta, but that's just from his previous run. Perkins is out of fuel. She's not going to be improving. So if both of these drivers behind improve, then she's going to be knocked out here. 2 tenths up for Happy Man through that first sector. Already much better than his previous attempt. Takes the car to the left. He gets back on the power. And here he goes into... I can't remember any of the corner names on this circuit. He gets back on the power and he crosses that middle sector split. He's 4 tenths up now, which should be plenty enough to get him through into Q2, so long as he keeps it all going, keeps the momentum, and keeps it within the white lines as well. Just 2 more corners to go for him. He's got it stopped through 1. There's just 1 more to go. He's got it stopped through the final 2 corners. So long as he's kept his momentum up, he should be through into the second part of qualifying. He jumps up to P12, which does push EJ out in Q1. Hart is not improving, and he's going to be joining EJ in the bottom 5 and being eliminated in Q1. Hart has actually had a tap with the barrier there, it would appear, as that is a missing end plate for the RB driver. So, Q1, topped by Dan, followed by Mr. Business and Shakos for that 5.5 tenth gap. Okay. Shush. That 5.5 tenth gap will be very important later on, especially if he can keep that going. Then he's followed by Lele, Gianuzzi, L-Plan, Untos, Pyro, Rocky, Liam Border, Ayan, Happy Man, Power GT, Dom, and Perkins getting through. Then knocked out is EJ and Hart. Now we wait for Q2 to begin. I'm going to see if I have time to start a prediction. There we go. And now we get Q2 underway. And the first one out is the Kicksauber of Unitos, leading them out. He's followed by the Alpine of that Happy Man, yes it is. And then he's joined by the RB of El Plan, followed by the Mercedes of Pyro, and then it's the McLaren of Mr. Business. All of them choosing to go out nice and early in the session. Yeah, there's lots of cars coming out. There's also the Williams of Dan, and then the Aston Martin of Rocky, and they are the only ones on the track at this stage, but there will probably be more later on in the session. Oh no, of course there will be more, but yeah, here comes the other Kicksauber of How GT. The thing with this game, you now actually see drivers having to actively warm up their tyres, because they can't just sit there, do a bit of brake dragging, because that doesn't work. Because especially on this game, drivers seem to be running quite high pressures to limit the wear and temperature during the race. But that also means that it's hard to get temperature in qualifying. Here goes Unitos into that first sector. He's got a Ferrari who's going to need to get it out of his way. Unitos flicking it through the first chicane, and then he gets back on the power, and yeah, the Ferrari does get nicely out of his way. Get his very fast direction changes around this circuit. 24-1 from Unitos in the first sector. Gets it flicked round the hairpin, and then he gets back on the power as soon as he dares. Getting a quick flick to the left. You can see the rear stepping out, but it doesn't cost you time. You can kick the rear out, and then you just live with it, keep it under control, and that's how you gain time on this game as he approaches turns 14 and 15. Again, the rear very loose through that chicane, but he keeps it very neatly under control as he's now just got the last two corners to go. The Red Bull gets out of his way before he comes around the final corner. He goes up to the line now, and what will it be from Unitos in that Kicksauber car? It's a 1:15.0 as the first run of the session. He's followed by the Alpine of Happy Man, who's just come around the final corner now. It's a big snap of oversteer, which will have cost him a lot of time. It's a 15.5 for the Alpine driver. Next up is El Plan. He comes up to the line, 15.2, followed by Perkins, who's come up to the line for a 15.7. Pyro next to the line as he goes around the final corner, up to the line, draining all the battery he's got, but it's only P2 with a 1:15.1. There, it's the Alpine of Rocky who goes up to the line, a 1:15.0 to take him his Aston Martin up to P1. He's then followed by Dan, who I think may have invalidated his time as he's not put it onto the leaderboards and is having to go again. Power GT into P5 with a 1:15.4. Then he's followed by Shackles, who's going out a lot earlier than he typically does. Up the line, it's only P5 with a 1:15.2. It's not quite the times we're used to from previous games from the German, as Liam Wilder sets a 1:14.8 to go up to the top. Dom up to the line, only P8 with a 15.5. Then Lele just starting his flying lap as well. His teammate Happy Man just coming into the pit lane. He's going to want to do another run in this session. Just a few cars fighting their way into the pit and just across the line to begin his first run of the session. Mr. Business around the final corner is coming to the end of his first run, but he's invalidated it right at the end. I think that was also on the straight sort of after the last corner, or officially at the last corner, I think it just took a bit too much of that bit of runoff area that there is, that you can take a lot of, which will gain you a bit of time. If you take too much of it, you just do that and invalidate your lap in a seemingly incredibly stupid way. Dan invalidated his time again, so his controller has stopped vibrating. Yeah, that's not ideal when you're on controller, when you don't get vibrations anymore. As around the final corner comes Lay, and he goes into P2 with a 114.9. Then it's Giannuzzi around the final corner. Is just starting his first run. Both Ferraris in the pit lane. That's in up the line with a 114.5 to go to the top with a very strong time. It's so confusing how Ferrari and Haas have the exact same colour on the map. It's just not... It's so confusing and it's just unnecessary. Giannuzzi is heading into or through that middle sector at the moment, returning to racing with us this season, having taken a season on the sidelines. Through that chicane he goes. I feel like I should know the names off the corners of this track, but I simply just don't. He's going into the final two proper corners of 17 and 18. There's officially a turn 19 that he's got to go through before he gets to the line. But he doesn't take too much on the inside. It's P5, it's a 1:15.0, and it may or may not be Q3. And in this Haas car is likely just going back into the pit lane now. So we've just got a few drivers back on the track. Dan's gone back out. He's saying his control stopped vibrating, which would mean he has very little feel of his throttle. I don't know if he's going to be able to get it back at all in this session. Dan really just needs a new controller. Like, he's had so many problems with it. But he's going to go... I mean, he was half a second faster in Q1. The question is, will he lose that half a second due to the lack of vibrations on his controller as he heads into that first chicane? And we can wait and see. I don't think there's anyone else on the lap. Cadell plans invalidated. Unitos might be there. Yeah, he is indeed a 10.5 up on his personal best. Dan's still going as well. Though he has burned a lot of battery in that first sector. I guess there aren't too many other straights on this circuit, so it probably won't be too disastrous for him. Shakos is actually right down there in the drop zone, down in P9. And if Dan can actually keep this lap within the white lines, he's almost certainly going to improve ahead of him. And that will push Shakos all the way down to P10. Which is not where you'd expect him to be, based on the form over the past two games. He's just not suited well to this game so far. Unitos jumps himself up into P3. Around the final corner comes Dan. And he does go into P1, but it's only by a 10.5. Yeah, so yeah, it's not nearly as much of a margin as it was before. Pyro jumps himself up into P2, and he's only half a tenth off then. So that probably is down to the lack of control of vibrations. So I think he had a 14.1 in Q1. He's only got a 14.4 so far here. As Shakos is indeed starting his next, or his first, flying lap. So Shakos is incredibly out of position there. Down in P10, you'd expect him to be so much higher. But he just hasn't suited well to this handling so far. You'd hope if you are in this position, you'd hope you can find his form. Perkins is having a little excursion in the gravel trap. I'm not entirely sure what she's doing in there, but had a little little trip through the gravel. Giannuzzi taking us through that chicane at the end of the first sector is about half a tenth up so far. Mr. Business goes to the top with a 1:14.3, and he takes it away narrowly from Dan. But look how fine the margins are. Half a tenth in Giannuzzi's position, as Shakos does go to the top with a 1:14.3. That's much more like what we're used to seeing. You wondered how long it'd be until he put himself up there at the sharp end. He's done it now, and surely he's at no more risk of elimination in Q1. As I was saying, like, Giannuzzi's a bit under a tenth up, but that would see him jump all the way up to potentially P8 if he can find a bit more time in this final sector. Well, we just have to wait and see as he comes up to the line. DRS active, and just P9 with a tenth and a bit found. He can't jump ahead of Lelo. He's still close to the edge, as Power GT is beginning his next run. El Plan as well, just through the final corner. Oh, he's going to come into the pit lane, and he might be knocked out here unless he can get himself out quite quickly. Yeah, lots of drivers choosing to come out now. Shakos just back into the pit lane. I think a few drivers aren't going to go again. As I say that, Perkins has retired from the session, but Giannuzzi is just coming around the final corner, but he's going to be coming into the pit lane. But going instead is Untos in his Kick Sauber, the green machine. And P5 has retired from the session. Mr. Business also. And Power GT is also just beginning a flying lap along with his teammate. Pyro retires as well, so the top 5 all seeming to be confident in their lap times, and I think that is fair enough. But all it takes is just a few improvements from lower down the field. And then people can just stick a time on and possibly that top 5 could be at risk of elimination here. Obviously, it is a big gap. Giannuzzi's retired from the session. He's not going to be able to do any better. But that means he's going to be right on the cusp here. And he could well find himself out in Q2. Power GT is 3/10 up on his personal best. Untos, I'm not sure how much he is up by, but he's coming around the final corner. He's going to go up to the line now. And this to get him into Q3 very safely in P4. Untos will be taking part in that final part of qualifying. Power GT up to the line now. P8, that's a lot less safe. It's pushed Giannuzzi already down into P10. And Rocky is 3.5 tenths up. So all it takes is Rocky to finish out this lap, and Giannuzzi will not be taking further part in qualifying today. And Dom has retired from the session. He's not going to be improving, and he is out in P13. El Plan, 2.5 tenths up at the moment. Rocky, almost 4 tenths up as he comes up to the line. 5.5 tenths found, bit over half a second, and Giannuzzi is now knocked out. Liam Boyle's not improving. He could be at risk here if the drives behind improve. Lele half a second up. He improves into P8, which pushes Power GT down into P10. El Plan on a lap as well. So Liam Boyle is just about safe, but he could knock out Power GT here if he finishes off his lap. Power GT isn't going to be improving, so it's all down to whether Plan can find time. He was 7 thousandths up through the middle sector. Can he find more time now? No, he can't. He does find some time. It's just under a tenth, and he is out in Q2. Well, that does mean both Kick-Sauers have made it through into the final part of qualifying. Shakos on top, having discovered what the issue was. He had a 2% brake input the entire time. He needs to update his pedals, but he can't at the moment. So sorry, not Power GT. Shakos, top of Q2, followed by Mr. Business and Dan, who has now restarted his game, so will hopefully have control of vibrations back. And then followed by Unitos, Pyro and Rocky. Then it's Ayan on his return, followed by Lele, Liam Boulder, and Power GT. I wish it wouldn't. But there's probably a way to turn this off. I'm just going to turn it off manually. There we go. So then... yeah, so they're knocked out Giannuzzi, El Plan, Dom, Happy Man, and Perkins. Right, give me like half a minute. Right. Top 10 shootout is underway, and first one out of the track is Pyro this time around in the Mercedes, number 72, and he spun and hit the wall. Of course, the first thing I see when I come back, I just look and see Pyro just spinning out on his on his outlap. But it is Untos who's going to be the first to set a lap as he comes round the final corner now. And he gets on the power. It's a little bit of a slide as he prepares to get underway, but off he goes. He's going to encounter the Ferrari of Shakos just coming out of the pit lane, but that's not a problem for him as he goes straight past and into turn one. He gets it flicked through the corner, gets it nicely done. through that first chicane, but not taking too many risks at this stage in the session, so you don't want to find yourself facing the wrong way in a barrier, because I'd much rather have a banker than have my car unable to take any further part. Although maybe that's just personal preference, I'm not sure. And just taking us nicely through that middle sector now. Then to the right, gets it stopped, gets it rotated, and back on the power. But he has invalidated his time through that section, but so it's going to be Dan the first to set a lap instead, who may or may not have received his vibrations back from his controller. As Dan goes through the final couple of corners, he's got it stopped nicely, and he's going to set the early benchmark. Will it be the provisional pole time that will last for the entirety of these first runs? It's a 1:14.5, and I think the answer to that is going to be a no. It's not the greatest of laps from Dan, which may mean he hasn't got his vibrations back, as Lele up to the line, a 1:14.3. Rocky's invalidated his time, has had to come back in. Pyro with a 1:14.4. Then it's Shakos coming up to the line. Is going to start his next lap now. Mr. Business next up to the line. And it's P4 with a 1:14.5. Slowest out of the times on the board so far. It's not. He's also got controller issues, to be fair, but like, yeah, he does need to look in. Power GT coming in towards the final couple of corners now. In that green machine, the only team who have got both their cars into the final part of qualifying, and they're hopefully going to make good use of it as he heads around the final corner now. Opens his DRS flap, and it's only P5 for Power GT. There's always room to improve upon a decent banker. Unitos has invalidated again and will have to come back into the pit lane. Liam Border with a 1:14.2 sets his car onto provisional pole. Ayon can only manage a 1:14.6. Lele around the final corner is going to come into the pit lane. And then next up we see Shakos in the Scarlet Ferrari round the final corner at the home race for the Scuderia. And up to the line he goes. It's P1 with a 1:13.7. Dan's got no controller vibrations. From the noise I've just heard as well, it sounds like England have scored in their Euros game. I would not be surprised if they just have. Let me see. Yeah, they have. Oh, Mr. Business has had a little spin. Has he got a puncture? What's happened there to Mr. Business? I don't know. I just had a cheer from downstairs, and I correctly assumed what the reasoning was for that. It got in around the final corner. He looks like he's going to go again. Although, actually, no, he's not. He comes into the pit lane. Rocky is going to go at that again, though, for what he's going to hope will be his first time on the board in this session. The spring of Hutz's pedals broke. That's not fun. As Rocky takes us through the first sector, a little bit wide, and that's going to cost him his lap. He's not invalidated it, but he's lost enough time that it's not worth completing. No on-track action, although as I say that, Unitos coming out onto the track. Are we going to see Rocky go again? I think we may do. Yes, we are. Rocky blasting his way into that first corner. And he gets it flicked through the first chicane, but he's invalidated his time. He's going to have to be quick if he wants to set a time. Because he needs to get back into the pit lane and out again. It might be possible, but it's going to be tight. He basically needs to get back in and go out immediately. With 3 minutes and 50 seconds left in the session. He's probably got about a minute left, a bit less than that left of his lap. Then he needs to go through the pit lane. Then he needs to get pulled into the garage. And then he needs to go out again. It should be possible. But it'll be pretty damn tight. And by the looks of things, he knows that. He's going to get into the pits with about 3 minutes to spare, so he should be fine. Yeah, as he comes around the final corner, and into the pits he comes. Yeah, he's taking... Yeah, Bellingham scored, yeah, we know. I heard it from from up here. And we've got Dan, who's coming in towards the final couple of corners now. We've seen the raw pace that he has. It's by far the fastest in the field at the moment. But with the issues he's having, will he still be able to produce a decent lap? As here goes Dan in towards that first chicane. Tamburello chicane of the first three. Turns 2 to 4. I think the goal is just to keep it neat and get a decent lap whilst you are having these controller issues. But he is 2.5 tenths up through that first sector alone. So he is putting off some time. So Unitos has jumped up into P2 in the green machine, which provisionally is a front row start for the Kick Sauber driver. But we just have to wait and see what it's going to be like for the rest of the race. Mr. Business, or the rest of the session. Mr. Business just starting his next lap now. And down we see is half a second up on his personal best. It's still not enough to get close to Shackles here, but it is a front row start as it stands if he keeps this run going. He's burning all his battery before he takes the final 2 corners. He gets back on the power. And he's just about kept it in a straight line. He comes up to the line now. And for Dan, it's P2 with a 1:14.0. But Shackles does remain on provisional pole. Power GT's invalidates his time, but he will get the opportunity to go again. Well, he doesn't have that much ERS to play with. Lele as well is just going towards the start of his flying lap. Shackles is taking his time here. He should make it to the line. He knows, he's an incredibly experienced driver. He knows what he's doing. So he'll know how long he has, but it's still a bit concerning how late he's leaving it. Yeah, he's got 30 seconds left. He is going to be fine. Yeah, here he goes. He's being let through by Pyro, though, which is going to be interesting. Power GT's backed off. He's not going to make it to the line in time. Power GT's not going to make it. With only 5 seconds left in the session, Power GT has not made it. He's going to be P9 at best. Pyro might not have made it either. He's made it by the skin of his teeth. Pyro's just about got himself to start his final lap of the session. But this is where it all comes down to. The checker flag has fallen, and 2 tenths up on his personal best at the moment as he heads through the chicane. taking us through the final couple of corners. He's kept it within the white lines. He's kept it on the track. He gets up to the line now. And can he get close to the front? No, he can't. It's only half a tenth found in the end. That's Untos coming into the pit lane. He's already set his final flying run. Liam Water up to the line. What can he do? It's P2. It's a front row start for Liam Water. Mr. Business can only manage P4. Rocky up to the line as well. He can only manage P9, which pushes Power GT down. Lele's into the pit lane. He's not going to improve. So, unless Pyro can do anything about it, which he can't, he's had a spin. So, it is going to be Shackles on pole. He's invalidated his time as well. But he is still on pole position with Liam Water on the front row, followed by Dan and Mr. Business. Untos P5. Then it's Lele, Pyro, Ian, Rocky, and Power GT. And so, those who put a prediction on Shakos have been correct. I'm not sure if, manage pot. No, choose prediction. Oh, only 4 people voted for Dan, no one else voted. Well, no one wins. I have to say, never in doubt with Shakos. You can never rule it out. So, Shackles on pole by close to 0.2 of a second to Liam Water, followed by Dan, Mr. Business, Untos, and Lele, and they're followed by Pyro, Ian, Rocky, and Power GT. Well, I just have to see how Dan does with no feel for his throttle inputs, but that one's going to be interesting. It's a bit overcast for the Grand Prix, but I don't think it's going to rain. Yeah, no rain. Okay. But it's... yeah, we've got the race not long away. Okay, it's gonna dry up. Oh, there's gonna be a bit of sun towards the end of the race, but other than that, it's gonna be a bit cloudy. Then we're gonna get a little bit of sun towards the end. How long do we have till the start? It's 2 minutes time. Now, give me a second. I'm going to fill up my water bottle, because you need to drink while you're commentating, especially if you are ill, like a certain someone is. Right, start should be very prompt. Yeah, here we go. Now, last time we raced around here at Imola, there was a little encounter before turn 1, which involved the end of Liam Border's race before they even reached the first breaking point after a bit of contact with Jack Imac. Now, you'd hope we don't get the same this time, but couldn't predict anything, really. Here we go. We've got... Oh, we can't actually see how many laps we've got of the circuit. Let's have a look. How many laps do we have? Wait, I'm going to look up how many laps we have. Give me a second. Imola circuit. In real life they have 63 laps, so I think there'll be 32 laps, I believe. Possibly 31. I think the game runs up if you do a 50%. So I think that means we have 32 laps ahead of the drivers here in Imola. Front two on the front row, both going with the hard compound. They've shared a few championship battles in the past. Will we see this race joining them, or this season becoming another one of a championship battle between Shakos and Liam Boulder? We might, or we might not. We'll just have to wait and see. So Dan and Mr. Business both on the mediums. You can see how aggressive they're having to be with the weaving to pick up any temperature at all. It's what we discovered last night as well. No one had temperature. I had a bit of, to be fair, I had a bit of temperature in my rears, but that's because I spun on the formation lap. So I had like 85 degrees in my rears. Because you don't lose the temperature once you've gained it. That's the thing. You can't get it, but then at the same time, once you have it, it doesn't go away, really. Yeah, so front two on the hard tyres, Dan and Mr. Business on the mediums, Unitos on hard, Lely on mediums, Pyro on hard, Ayn and Rocky mediums, Pow GT and Giannuzzi on the hards, El Plan, Dom and Happy Man all on the mediums, Perkins on the hards, EJ on the mediums. Someone's facing the wrong way, that is El Plan. I mean, it's one way to get temperature into your ears. And then Hart is the last driver on the grid, just parking up now. And then we await the lights. Oh, why? 30 laps ahead of the drivers here. And it's lights out and away we go. Perkins has jumped the start there. And it's a brilliant start from Dan, who take the lead before the first corner, which we can see what's going on. But Dan through the middle of the front, of the two on the front row. Liam Wilder and Shackles going side by side through the first corner. The Red Bull seeming to just squeeze himself ahead of the Ferrari. They're still going to be side by side though. Mr. Biz is going to get involved as well, but Shackles does have the inside line. Surely make the move done, but no, Liam Wilder goes straight around the outside. Shackles isn't going to give it up that easily though, and he does get himself back through as the Red Bull went a little bit wide. Mr. Business moved up into third place while that was all going on. Lele's also got ahead of the Red Bull due to all that battling. Liam's going to not let it go that easily, but he is forced to give out the place. Go very wide and spinning is Pyro from P6. He had a spin and that's dropped him right down to the back of the field. Lele and Miss Business going side by side as the McLaren teams have made a mistake there and losing a lot of time. Mr. Business is disconnected as well for good measure while all that was going along, and that's going to send him tumbling down the order. Limwater is just ahead of this battle for fifth between the two Ferrari-powered cars. He kicks Albarovic on the outside, gets shown the door, and forced to give up the position. They're all going for it again, but there's no move so far. And Dan has got quite a comfortable lead so far to Shakos, who's drained quite a lot of his battery on that opening lap. DRS enabled already at the end of the first lap, of course, with the new rules in real life Formula 1. Dom has had a spin through the first corner. I'm not quite sure how he ended up facing the wrong way there, but he has done as Pyro gets past the disconnected Mr. Business. I'm not sure if he's been given an invite, so I'll go and one if he hasn't already. Hearts and Power GT going side by side. Hearts from the back of the grid has made a brilliant start so far to be up into 9th place already. And that's on the hard combat as well. Is he going to go into a battle with EJ? No, he's not. He's going to stick behind. Yeah, but both of those disconnectees have been able to rejoin. As Hearts having a lag back there by the looks of things. He's upgraded to a PC now, but he's still got the same issues of just disconnects and lag backs. Pyro's not. I just realised I called Pyro number 72 in qualifying. He's 82. Hearts is 72. Oh well. But Lele's right on the back of Shakos, who's lost the DRS to Dan, but the race will come to the Ferrari driver. Because he's using the slower compound at the moment. He's going to be able to go onto those mediums later on in the Grand Prix. And then that will be the sort of thing that boosts his pace compared to the drivers around him. And he's not losing too much time to Dan, considering he doesn't have that DRS from the... Oh, it's going off there. That's Haas getting incredibly out of control into the barriers as well. Through the hairpin, he's lost a little bit of his front wing. He continues on though. There's no safety car for that damage. Dom's gone off and lost both ends of his front wing. He's lost his end plate on both sides there, as he's limping around with neither end plate now. I'm not sure how he's done that, because usually it's either one or the other. Possibly he hit someone and then hit the wall. Couldn't tell you what's happened to the Ferrari driver. They've both disconnected again. I don't have Happy Man, so I can't invite him. As Lele sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix with a 1:17.3. Here he goes to the inside. And he moves ahead of Shakos quite comfortably before they get anywhere near the end of the straight. But these two might start working together with the DRS to gain on Dan. That is the best thing to do for them in this situation. Limboarder's almost lost the DRS to these two, but he's just about going to keep it here, as he's now bit under 9/10 behind. But now Lele, he's on the mediums as well, so he can push a lot more on the tyre than Shakos could. He's got just that bit more tyre grip than the Ferrari, and he's going to use that to good effect so far, as he is gaining a bit on Dan. But Dan's going to start pulling away later on. The thing is, are these two going to swap around when they want to get the DRS, or when they want to gain Dan, or gain on Dan? Will Shakos just fly past with the DRS? Pyro and Limboarder have both just picked up track limit penalties. Here goes Shakos. He gets the DRS here on Lele. Is he going to use it and go past? And are they just going to use that to be constantly swapping positions? Here he goes. He is going to. Shakos moves to the inside, moves back up into second place. Lele knows what he's doing and lets him through. So I think these two are just going to use the DRS lap after lap to try and gain, as Pyro's got himself ahead of EJ. There's so many cars off. Rocky and Ayan have made a bit of contact, and there's someone else off as well. I think that was Power GT. Ayan's going very slowly as he rejoins. And all of that has sent them both tumbling down the field. Must have made a bit of contact there, although not entirely sure how. Happy Man's come into the pit lane as well. And yeah, Shakos has gained a lot on Dan this lap. He's really pushing, and his 1.1 tenths. Is he going to be able to get the DRS here? He's not far behind. He needs to find a tenth. Although through the chicane, Dan gains that little bit more time. It's going to be close if they get to the DRS split now. Shakos misses out though, marginally, but he does just about miss out on the DRS. Shakos does set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Lele's gaining with DRS, but I don't think is he getting enough for them to swap around again? Don't think he is. No, Shakos is going to stay ahead this time around. But he's already close to that gap to within a second. Dan appears to be struggling right now. He's not deploying any ERS. Does he know that? We saw it last night. Fresh just wasn't using DRS for the first 15 laps. Dan has now fixed his error. I'm not sure if he realised. Going off the track there is EJ in the McLaren. We've seen quite a few off-track excursions so far in this race. I'm not sure how many of them are contact and how many are just mistakes. Because the circuit is unforgiving. Shackles made a huge mistake there as he just locked his rear wheels as they went into the chicane, but it's not mattered too much in the end. He's fallen back to Dan, but he is still going to get the DRS, and he should still be able to gain. Liam Water and Lele, I think, went side by side there as we saw the gaps rapidly decreasing. Yeah, and now with DRS, Shackles is going to slightly nullify the straight line speed advantage that Dan has, but it's not going to be too much. Oh, they made contact! Lenny and Liam Wilder made contact. They tried. It was a late move, a late defensive move from the Alpine, and that just sent the Red Bull spinning. He just wasn't expecting the defense from Lele. He tried to avoid it, and that just sent his car completely out of control. He's gone tumbling down the order into P10. From fighting for third to dropping down to P10, that is not what the Red Bull would have wanted. But Shackles is still right on the back of Dan. He might have a chance this time around, but he needs to be so close to be able to even think about a move. Because he simply just does not have that straight line speed that he requires to gain from any further back. Like, he has to be right there if he wants to have a chance off the move. And here they go. He's got the DRS, he's deploying his battery, he's in the slipstream as well, but he's just not gaining. He's gaining a tiny bit, but it's nowhere near enough for what he needs to go for a move. Dan is deploying as well, and now their DRS numbers are similar. Now it might be a bit easier on the next time around. As Pyro has got past Giannuzzi into P6, he's making up for that spin he had on the opening lap. But he is still only in P6. I'm sure he'd much prefer to be. Like, if he didn't have that spin, he would probably be in this lead battle right now with Pyro. Or at least close to it, because he dropped right down to the back, and he's recovered well so far. This front four are just running away. We also had a front four breakaway last night as well, until we had Havoc Gamer slightly dropping off the back of that after us down at Mercedes chose to swap the cars. Well, I didn't tell him to, he just decided to let me through, which probably was for the better. And then he did just kind of drop off the train. Here goes Shackles though this time around. He's closing with the DRS, but I don't think he's closing enough. Yet again. He's nowhere near fast enough to go for the move. He's closer this time than he was before, but there's no opportunity. Dan's just that much faster on the straights. Giannuzzi moves back ahead of Pyro into P6. He's not going to give it up. Or Dan's having a little slide. Here goes Shackles. Is he going to go for it around the outside? No, he's not. He doesn't have the opportunity. He's closing. Is he going to go for it here? Dan's saving some battery, and he just allowed Shackles through on the inside. He's going to get the DRS back into turn 1, and that's probably going to allow him to retake that race lead. But he was saving the battery, and he's lost out. There's a yellow flag. I think EJ's ran into some issue in the McLaren. I'm not entirely sure what. But as we focus on this battle at the front, Lele's got a 3-second time penalty, so has Untos. They're all of these cars with 3-second time penalties already. It's only lap 9. And already about half the field has picked up a 3-second time penalty. There's 10 drivers out of the 17 have 3-second time penalties so far. Here goes Dan. He's going to just breeze back past. And maybe it was tactical to just let Shackles through there on that part of the track. There's a yellow flag again. EJ's gone off yet again in the McLaren. He's really not liking those mediums, is he? Seems to just be struggling so much on those medium compound tyres that he's been on for only 8 laps, and now it's 9. He's not been on them for comparatively that long. The question is, can the hards go to the end from here? I don't know. He's retired, yeah. Yeah, I think, unfortunately, that is kind of justified from how his race was going until that point. It's a shame for EJ, but I mean, at a certain point, there's nothing really you can do. You can just keep pushing in a futile hope that things will improve, but sometimes it just doesn't. Liam Boyle's got a second time penalty off the race, as Unitos almost thought about going for a move on Lele there, as the mediums do seem to be going off a little bit. Shackles this time. Is he close enough? He's gaining quite a lot on Dan, who isn't deploying that much battery. Shackles moves to the inside, and for the first time into turn 1, he does move himself ahead of the Williams, and Shackles has now got 1 lap to try and break the DRS, and I think he will. I think simply Shackles is going to break it by that point. There's an Alpine off through this section of the racetrack. That's Happy Man. He's gone a lap down in the Alpine. It's such a shame because he was super quick last game, but I think he's swapped to a wheel now, and he just doesn't have quite the same pace as before. It's a shame for him, but yeah, it's always a shame seeing drivers struggle, especially when they're a super quick driver. And Dan made a bit of a mistake there, and I think he's going to lose it. He's taken it through that chicane very nicely, but look at the exit that Shackles has got. But it's not quite going to matter, as Dan could just keep his car within the DRS. And so, Lele's going to be... Oh, yeah, Dan's going to be safe for 1 lap from the attacks of Lele, but probably not for long, as he's going to gain on Shackles, but he's not going to gain... He's probably still going to be further back than he was last lap. As here he goes, he's gaining, but yeah, he's still about 3/10 back. And he's losing time already. It's already half a second. I think this is a lap where the DRS gets broken. As El Plan goes sliding out of control. Kept it on the road, kept it in a straight line. Dan, he's made a mistake, he's gone off the track. He was leading for the first 10 or so laps, and now he made a mistake, and now he's dropped down to P7. Was it just a slide? Oh, he's gone off again. Something's gone very, very wrong for the Williams here. And whatever it is, I'm not sure it's going to be a simple fix. But what that does mean is that Shackles has completely pulled away. Lele has no DRS to pull him along, and he's got Unitos right behind on the harder compound, so they will have much less tyre wear so far. And here goes the Dutchman, he's gaining, and I think he's just going to get him. I think, simply put, he's just going to breeze past, and yes, he does. The Dutchman in the Kick-Sauber car has breezed past Lele into second place, but the question is, can he gain that second to Shackles to get within his DRS window? Liam Buarda going to go side by side with El Plan. They were teammates last season, they're now in the sister teams this season. And Liam Buarda gets himself back in front. I don't think Unitos is going to be able to gain that gap unless they get very fortunate. And both Mr. Business and Happy Man have had their races ruined by disconnecting. Rocky is the first driver out of, or that's doing a planned pit stop so far. Everyone else that's pitted has done it out of damage, out of destroyed tyres, things like that. There's a yellow flag. Someone has gone off through that middle sector. Well, I couldn't tell you who. Oh, El Plan's going off there. He's kept it in a straight line, but he has gone a little bit into the grass. Lele's almost dropped out of Unitas' DRS here, but he's going to get it, and he's going to gain quite a lot from it. Yeah, he's gained a lot there, but it's not enough to gain him back to the train. I think he will lose the DRS this lap. Unitas is probably also not going to get it back. Although actually, he is close. He is quite quick at this stage of the race. Is the Dutchman. I don't know, we'll see. Will he actually be able to challenge Shakos for the race victory today? He does also have that 3-second time penalty that you need to remember. So he's going to have to serve that before the end of the race. So effectively, Shakos is 4 seconds up the road. And I guess you could say that. He's effectively 4 seconds up the road because of time penalties. I mean, again, we don't know how many warnings Shakos has had, though. Or how many warnings since his penalty Unitas has had. As there's a yellow flag, someone's gone off again through that middle sector. Oh, there's a McLaren facing the wrong way. That's Mr. Business. I think that's who's gone off. He's a lap down now and into the pit lane. As also into the pit lane is Lele from 3rd place. Probably was a wise move as he was dropping out of position. Mr. Business has retired. Dan also coming into the pit lane off the medium compound. We'll see, can he make the undercut work? Having lost out a lot of time. And Aaron gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings as we're approaching the halfway mark in this Grand Prix. Dan's going to have to wait for the retiring car of Mr. Business ahead of him here as he comes out of the pit lane. Dan's going to be just ahead of Perkins. Oh, he doesn't have to wait, actually. He can just go through. Yeah, he's just... Oh, they're going to be side by side with Perkins as the Red Bull does get herself ahead. But it's a big slide. They make a little bit of contact. Dan gets pushed off the track as well. I'm sure that's not what he wants, as he wants a nice fast outlap. And he's got past now. But that would have cost him a lot of time that he doesn't want to have to lose. So these guys both go around the final corner. Shakos stays out. So does Unitas. They're both going a bit longer before coming into the pit lane. Pyro and Giannuzzi, neither of them are choosing to come into the pit lane. Everyone on the hard so far is staying out. No one is reacting to the earlier stops. L planning into the pit lane, having done 15 laps on those tyres. Giannuzzi gets himself ahead of Pyro and into 3rd place on the podium as things stand. Shakos does now pick up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So if a safety car comes out, Rocky's in a really good position as the only driver without a time penalty. There are a few drivers with 6, which will really cost them if such an event arises. Or if they just get in a DRS train and can't break through. Dan does come out just about ahead of El Plan, which I think was roughly where he was before. But it's not as much of a gap as he would have liked. Not at all. And that will be partially down to the being held up by Perkins as he was on his outlap. No one choosing to come into the pit lane this lap, or at least not the top two. Pyro a little bit out of shape through the final corner again. He really does seem to be struggling through that last corner. But there's no signs of pit stop from him. Here he goes again, and he gets past Giannuzzi. Liam Wilder, though, is into the pit lane, putting on a set of the soft compound, not soft, medium compound tyres. I assume everyone's seen how badly the medium seemed to fall off after about 10 laps, and they're wanting to go as long as they possibly can before they have to put them on, as Giannuzzi is still on the back of Pyro. It's really the main battle in this race. It's just there's just this 3-way DRS train of Pyro, Giannuzzi, and then Power GT is just there. He's not able to really do anything. He's just there, and he's hanging on. Again, Dan's just not able to pull away from El Plan. He's just got the RB driver just there. And he's just going to be there for an awfully long time. Shakos has used an awful lot of his battery. I think he's going to be into the pit lane at the end of this lap. This could be the point that we see the Ferrari driver into the pits with 14 laps to go by the time he'll pit. Giannuzzi and Pau GT both choosing that now is the time to come into the box. And they're both going to decide that now is the time to come out of it as well. As they both emerge on their brand new medium tyres. They should be comfortably ahead of Liam Warder here. But it's going to be closer than they would have liked. As the Red Bull coming down the pit straight. Very close. They're actually going to lose out to the Red Bull driver. Or at least Pau GT is. As he loses out to Liam Warder, who moves up into 6th place. Giannuzzi is just about ahead of the two. Do we see Shakos into the pit lane at the end of this lap? We've seen how strong the undercut can be. He won't be at too much risk of losing out to Giannuzzi. Just the question is, how far behind Lele will he be? Shakos is into the pit lane from the lead of the Grand Prix. Untos is going to stay out, and he does take the race lead. But what we want to see is, where is Lele? Here he is. He's coming into the chicane now. He's a little bit ahead of Giannuzzi and Liam Warder, but not much. And Pyro also into the pit lane. Here comes Shakos. He's off the limiter now, I think. Oh, he's not quite. So you can see on the minimap where Lele is, and Shakos is going to be comfortably ahead of the Alpine. It's a long way, and it's not even that close. Lele might actually lose out to Pyro here. He doesn't quite. Pyro might drop right to the back of this train as they all go out where they file out. He's going to be behind Giannuzzi and behind Liam Warder, but still ahead of Pau GT. But not as far ahead as he was before. Here he goes. Is he going to send on Giannuzzi on the inside? He does wisely choose that it's better to not. And Unitos is going to likely be in at the end of this lap. Off those hard tyres onto a set of mediums. I mean, that one lap less on the tyres could be what makes all the difference as into the pits he goes. Lele and Dan have both picked up 3-second time penalties for multiple warnings. Dan has caught this train, but so has El Plan. So pretty much 3rd down to 8th. Or 9th even, are all right there. Lele's just... What? That was just straight up just a thunderstorm. Just in the runoff area. As Shakos does retake the race lead. Here comes Unitos out of the track. Dan's out of the race at the final corner. What's happened there? Is he gone into the wall? I think he made contact with Pau GT. Pau GT's off as well. What's gone on there with the... What has gone on there with the Williams driver? There's no safety car. I don't know. I just saw Dan off. I saw Pau GT off. I could not tell you what's gone on there. Yeah, Shakos is comfortably out front though. 4-second gap is what he has. And Rocky going side by side as the Haas gets himself ahead of the Aston Martin and moves up into 8th place. Well, they're going to go side by side still. Here goes Pau GT on the inside, taking the opportunity well and moves ahead of the Haas. And drops down to P10. He's still on the edge of points. And it's looking like he's probably going to stay there. He's got a 26-second gap, 2 hearts behind. I mean, Shakos is just cruising at this stage. But then Lele downwards are all just in a train down to El Plan. Liam Warder not close enough to go for a move. England update. It's 1-0 Still at half-time. Okay. It's 12 laps, no, 11 laps to go at the end of this one. I think Dan disconnected and that retired him. Because he's joined back. Which probably means he disconnected and got retired, but I couldn't tell you. As Perkins moves ahead of Hutz. I desperately need the toilet, so I'm going to have to take a toilet break. Please tell me if anything happens. Right, I don't think I missed anything, did I? Rocky and Aiden still batting it out. But they've dropped How GT completely. They've just completely dropped Power GT. As he's now 2 seconds up the road as these two keep fighting. Shackle's very comfortably out front still, yeah. Where did Lele lost a couple of places while I was gone then, apparently. So Limboada now the front of this train as Lele drops a little way back. They've dropped El Plan from the train completely as well. But I think it's all just calm at the moment for the rest of the Grand Prix. Unless we get a late safety car, when of course anything can change then. It's through that sector, it looks like the way the fence is, it makes it look like it's raining. But then, raining and with blue skies and quite a lot of sunshine. Shakas is just stretching that advantage very comfortably. He's now close to 5 seconds out front. Limboada with that 6-second time penalty. He's going to drop in this train. Actually, no, everyone else does. So, Giannuzzi, as it stands, is on for P3. Because he's just sitting there in P4. But with less time penalties than everyone ahead. Good overtakes. I don't know, bro. You're the overtake of the week guy. Here goes Giannuzzi ahead of Limboada. And now he's in that position on track as well. As it stands though, he will definitely finish ahead of the Red Bull. Podium on his return is not bad at all if he manages to pull it off. Happy Man is still getting on with it. Considering he is... Oh! Facing the wrong way, that's what he is. I mean, you've got to respect him for not retiring yet. He's still going. He's only now a lap down to everyone except Hartz and Perkins, but like he's chilling. He's still going. Yeah, he's getting the practice in, just getting the laps, getting it done. Can keep up saying he's had no DNFs. You know, because 13th doesn't look nearly as bad as DNF, does it? Like, they don't need to know that you're 13th in a lap down. It's just 13th is better than DNF. Here goes Limborder on Giannuzzi, gets back ahead. Same thing we've seen every other lap. Pyro and Lele going side by side as well. And the Mercedes does come out ahead of the Alpine. Here goes Rocky on Iron. On the outside, does he get that move done? Just about. Squeezes the Haas a little bit on the inside. But he gets the move done. Who's got the fastest lap at the moment? Liam Walder. So that'd be 13 points if he finishes right now. Shakos with the fastest middle sector. I may have spoken too soon. As here he goes through the final couple of corners. I assume it's the fastest lap attempt from the Ferrari. And let's see what he can do. 7 laps to go once he gets to the line. Shakos does not set the fastest lap. He does a 1:16.3. Which is 6 tenths off the fastest lap. How's Perkins just gotten a straight time penalty then? I think Perkins is also trying to go for fastest lap and just try to abuse the track limits a little bit too much. Let's see what Perkins can do. She's into the pit lane. Oh. I think she's... Oh, Shakos has got a second time penalty. And now it's a lot less certain. And now everything is a lot more up in the air. Shakos has got a 6-second time penalty now. Untos is still 5.5 seconds back. But this is the point where it starts to become a risk. Because he now has more time penalties than everyone around him. So now his gap is effectively 2.6 seconds. Which is still a lot, and it's probably safe for the rest of the race, but... Untos is now lowering that gap. He's seen it. He's now... Has he just been cruising this entire time, and now he's actually starting to push a bit? Is that what's happening here? I don't know, we just have to wait and see how the rest of the race is going to pan out. I don't know what more to say, really. Just have to sit here and wait. And this DRS train doing nothing particularly interesting as usual. Giannuzzi does get past in border. Yeah, there he goes. Right, now Pyro's got a 9-second time penalty, so yeah, it's looking like this train's definitely going to finish Giannuzzi, Limborder, and then Pyro and Lele. Now, Plan down in 7th, How GT down in 8th, and Rocky going to go side by side. Rocky is still penaltyless. I think that's... Oh, no. Don't think he's going to be penaltyless for long after that. Yikes. I mean, Ian's going to probably fall behind Rocky by the end, as one has a 9-second penalty, the other one doesn't. But then the other one's also probably getting a penalty for resetting there. Untos is definitely gaining on Shakos at the moment. He's got time in the tank, and he's using it. Is Untos going to be able to win? He needs to gain 1.6 seconds in 5 laps. Is that doable for the Kickstarter driver? I mean, how much is he gaining at the moment on Shakos? Let's see, he's... Last few laps, Shakos has been doing 17.8, 17.9. Shakos' pace seems to just hit a cliff. Untos is about 8 tenths of a lap faster at the moment than Shakos. That's... If it stays like this, then he's just going to be pushed... Like, Untos is going to gain it at this stage. He's 8 tenths a lap faster. Shakos really needs to just get his head down and just put in the laps. What's it this time from Shakos? 17.5. And then Untos across the line. 17.6. Yeah, so Shakos has got his head down Yeah, he's now a 10th up on Untos that lap. So I think he's realised and is now starting to push as well. Lele's got a 12th time penalty of the race. So now this train has a definitive order, unless there's a few more penalties still to be handed out. But at the moment, it's going to be Giannuzzi from Liam Buolda, there's Pyro and Lele, as they all have differing levels of track limit penalties. Happy Man's gone into the wall and lost both ends of his front wing, as he rejoined just ahead of the Aston Martin of Rocky, who is going to go through him. I don't think Shakos had a particularly good lap this time around. It's down to 3.8 seconds, the gap between him and Unados. It's going to go down to the wire, really. It's going to be incredibly close. I mean, we'll see what the times are. 17.8 from Shakos. That wasn't a great lap again. 17.4 from Unados. 4/10 a lap at this stage. Like, the gap's fluctuating. The question is it enough? Will Unados be close enough by the time they get to the end? Giannuzzi gets himself ahead of Limborda. And into the race lead. Pyro also going past the Red Bull. But then he squeezes his way back through. Lele's just gone past both of them on the inside. You don't often see a move there, let alone a double move. He's just completely gone past both of them on the inside there. I think now you know a good overtake, Techie. If you didn't before, now you certainly do. And the gap, 3.8 seconds, has gone down by 2/10 so far on this lap. It's gonna be close. It's going to be really, really close. And through the chicane, look how much time Unados has just gained there. Shakos just seems to be struggling so much. So he comes across the line. It's about 6/10 this lap. The gap's closing so quickly. It's 18-0 from Shakos. His tyres, yeah, it's 6/10. Unados is going to get him at this rate. The gap's only 3/10 now. He needs to be so much faster than he is. He's losing so much time. Unados is going to win on track limits penalties. Or at least at the moment he is. 3.4 seconds the gap at the moment. And now it's 3.2. Shakos really, really needs to get a move on. It's going to be so close, but I think Unados just about might have it at this stage. Like before Shakos got that second time penalty, it looked like it was completely over and done with. I said it was going to be a lot tighter once he got that penalty. The gap is now 1/10 of a second as they get ready to go on to the final lap. And here they go, on to the final lap of the race. 3.2 seconds is the gap. There's a 3-second track limits offset. I think that's Happy Man who's had to spin through the first sector, or through the middle sector, which indeed it is. Unados, all he needs to do to win here is to gain 0.2 of a second across a lap, where he's been gaining about 4 to 8 tenths, depending on the lap. He's been gaining so much in these last few stages, now that Shakos got that second time penalty. But can he do it now, on the one lap, where it matters? It would certainly feel like it at the moment. He's gained significantly. It's 3.1 seconds. It's so close at the moment. It's only a 10th more he needs to find in the rest of the lap. Shakos will see the gap. He'll know what he needs to do. 3 seconds, 3.1 seconds. It's fluctuating so much between corners. 3.2 is the gap at the moment as they go through the chicane, where Unados has been so rapid so far in this last stint, and he's proven it again. 3 seconds. It's under 3 seconds. It's just about under 3 seconds. It's going to be so close they go around the final couple of corners. I think Shackles not going to quite have enough. 3 seconds again. It's a bit under 3 seconds. It's all down to the exit. Ujas has not got the exit he needs. And they come out to the line. Shakos just about half a tenth of a second. It all came down to that run through the final corner. And he didn't have enough when it mattered, did Unatos. And the reigning champion has won the first race of the new season. That is one of the closest finishes I think I've ever seen. Obviously, it with the penalties, but that is such a close finish. Wow. As across the line comes the last of the running cars, comes on P9. And just about the race win goes to Ferrari. Wow. 42 thousandths of a second. That absolutely crazy finish to a Grand Prix. So Shakos wins by 42 thousandths of a second from Unatos Giannuzzi on his return, finishing on the podium. Then we've got Liam Boada, Pyro, Lele, L Plan, Pow GT, Alien, Rocky and Hart. Then Hart, Perkins, Dan. Not finishing as Perkins, Dan, Mr. Business, Dom, and EJ. Wow. I'm just in shock of what just happened. Drive for the day. I don't know. I really don't know. Untos went 5th to 2nd. Giannuzzi went 11th to 3rd. Honestly, I think I just got to give it to Unatos for that. I know he didn't win, but the pace he showed in those last few laps was incredible. He was keeping up with those lead guys the entire race, and then when it mattered, he was just short. That was an incredible finish. Hopefully we see more finishes like that later on. Thank you to those watching the stream today, and we'll see you next week for Tier 2 action in Austria. Yeah, we'll see you then. Good night.